Don't forget to stick around through the end of the video for information on our Arrive Serpentor Arrive giveaway. As we learned previously in our closer look at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Azrael and Batman Armor, a physically broken and incapacitated Bruce Wayne had to pass the mantle of Gotham's protector to the recently introduced Jean-Paul Valley. Well, recent at the time in 1992, not so much now as Valley has had many appearances since. Now, Valley did not want to use the typical cape and cowl that was the Bruce Wayne Batman. Instead, Valley built a new version over time, an armored version filled with high-tech gadgetry designed to aid in his efforts to fill such large shoes, or boots. Where Valley was skilled and did have training even from Bruce himself, it quickly became clear that the technology of the suit started to fill in some gaps in his abilities. This newfound power began to steer Valley into the wrong direction, a bad direction, a still fighting crime, but doing it in a very violent direction. Now, watching and learning of his replacement's violent, seemingly erratic behavior, Bruce repaired his body, restored his soul, rose to become the Batman once again, not without a fight though. Valley felt that the role belonged to him now, that he was the true Batman now, that Gotham was his, and fight they did. Does the armored bat have enough skill and gadgets to defeat the original Batman? Does Valley's psyche have what it takes to stand against a refreshed and recovered Bruce? Which Batman will be the one to protect Gotham? Check out the Knightfall comic series for all of this excitement and answers. Until then, thanks to Medicom, we collectors get a chance to have a much more in-depth view of such an iconic, such a 90s style, dare I say, such a rad bat costume. Hey everyone, my name is Jonathan, aka JK of JK Collection. Remember, I'll be posting a new video almost daily as new ads come out for the collection, if not sooner. Now, if that sounds of interest to you, please click that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. Now, in this episode, we are taking a closer look at the Medicom Mafex Knightfall Azrael Batman. Hey everyone, welcome back. Here we are, the Mafex from Medicom Batman, the Azrael Batman Armor, Knightfall Batman, whatever you want to call it. Awesome looking figure. Can't wait to dive into it. So let's take a gander at the back here as usual. And here are our renderings or photos of the... It's hard to tell with these. They really do seem like they are photos of the figure itself, but very cool to see what we've got and what we can expect out of this. I am very excited to see this one out of the box. Typical Mafex appearance with the packaging. Over on the side, we've got yet another image. That massive collar coming up over the face there. So 90s this thing is, but still so fantastic. I always love the little bands around the thigh. How that stays up, I do not know. Okay, but there we go. And then here's our stuff on the front, but we don't need to stare at that because we're going to open it up and take a closer look at all of it out of the package. So here we go. Let's dive in. Very excited to have this. Now, I know we've already taken a closer look at one of these from another manufacturer, but this one was just too good to pass up. And really, any version of this that looks like it's going to be as decent as the two that we've looked at, I can't pass it up. So there's our Mafex stand, right? That usually comes with it, the Medicom thing. Certifying a genuine product, I do appreciate that. You know, Medicom toy, that's pretty cool. I don't remember seeing that in some of the other ones that I've gotten. So neat. I'll have to take a closer look at that. It's got a little QR code and everything back there. So that's neat. Little hidden tag, or talking about a hidden tag. Okay, so that's it for the bottom that's in there. Let's pull this top layer off and make as much plastic squeaky noise as we possibly can. Okay, so that is our top tray. Nothing is embedded in it. It is there just to help keep stuff wrangled in and protected. Plastic and plastic and plastic. Okay, so let's pull these fun little accessory pieces that we have out. I love it, little action features. We've got a hook, grappling hook. We've got a Jean-Paul Valley head. So let's pull that out. And we've got 3 extra pairs of hands on here. And I can already see something that I am very excited about. That was also pointed out in the comments of the other Azrael, Azbat, that we looked at about the... You know what? Let's just go ahead and look at those hands and... without any further ado, right? So there we go. As you can see, Azbat, you can see the claws are painted silver. That was a missed opportunity on the other one. And I appreciate that this is, they use very metallic paints on this one in a lot of places that I can see, which is perfect. because it is armor, right? It is supposed to look metallic, and metallic these hands definitely do. I appreciate the detail in them. They do still kind of have a glove-like feature to them. You see that? It's got like a wrinkle to it. So I'm very curious about that. You know, it is supposed to be an armor. I would have to double check in the comics and see if these were supposed to be gloves or supposed to be how it could possibly work, metallic hand cover type thing. But it does have wrinkles for a glove, so I am to believe that perhaps it is some sort of a metallic flexible glove. How about that? How about that technology? But the claws on there, very well painted, as to be expected with the investment that it is in one of these Mafex toys. The only thing I can say is on the back here, you can definitely see some blue up the sides. And, you know, it's hard to say that that is part of the glove or, you know, a shadow like sometimes you can say, because it goes all the way up to the point on that one. But that is on the back. It's not something you're regularly going to see when it's posed because it is, you know, the rear of the claws. And let's take a look at the other hands, right? So that one was kind of a more open hand, ready to attack, maybe take out a face. I would not want to be on the receiving end of those. This one is more of kind of like a, I want to say almost neutral, but it's also it's the closest thing it looks like we get to a grip or weapon holding hand. Very difficult to pull off with these claws. And the paint is the same thing, same consistency as where it comes up on the points on the back. Some of these not so bad on these larger ones on this, we'll say weapon grip hand. And then we have a fist, somewhat of an open thumbed fist. And I point out that specifically because I can see on the figure itself, it is a closed thumb fist, kind of like we saw in the Black Suit Superman. It had a looser thumb and then a tighter thumb grip fist. But I mean, look at these claws when it's closed. The way that they just point out, that just looks painful. And it is. I mean, this is that regular stiff plastic. It's not a soft plastic, so it's not flexible. So they are a little pointy. I mean, the good thing is they're close together, so it's not really a danger of pointiness. With any of these, I mean, but they are definitely, they have rigidity to them is what I'll say. And here we've got on a piece of metal mine is slightly bent. You know what, let's see if we can get the focus to work. This one might be a manual. There we go. Okay, we got it. So mine is slightly bent, got a little bit of waviness to it, but I think I can figure out straightening that out. Shouldn't be too hard, right? Just like in school when I would bend paper clips straight. Just working out those tiny little waves in it. But there we go, right? So, and then the hook itself is painted in a silver. It doesn't seem like, I don't know if it's just, yeah, it is kind of the same silver. It just doesn't pop as much because it's not up against that blue. But yeah, very well done, very well painted, and the metal pieces in there nicely. There's no issues as far as any paint that I can see here, which is a typical thing that I would expect from a Medicom Mafex line. And then down here on the end, it kind of curves up just a little bit. So I'm curious to see if that serves a benefit in perhaps attaching it to the figure. But you know, for an action thing where he's shooting it out or something to leap across the buildings. But these, I gotta say these are neat, right? Because it's just firing the tiny little batarangs, which is one of the features of the suit, right? It had that ability of just quick firing a whole bunch of these, like a gun, but not a gun, because they're still batarangs, so he's kind of still following the rules. Yeah, you know, just bending them a little bit. One thing I can see here, it is that translucent plastic. It's slightly flexible, but it is still a pretty rigid plastic. It's mostly flexible because it is thin, right? But then here we've got a little bit of the black paint got on this one. I don't know if you can kind of see it. The backdrop of my finger. But all in all, the paint on these, with it being such a fine detailed thing, they are very well done. A little bit missing right here. You can see some of the clear showing through on that one. Kind of tough. There you go. Kind of tough to see. But I mean, really, it's not something that's enough of an issue to be a detractor. If you've got it displayed where you can see these firing out, you got to really look close to see that there's any paint missing or anything like that. And then the last accessory piece that came with it, the Jean-Paul Valley head. Look at it. I mean, that is what a picture perfect face you got going on there. Too bad he went a little off the rails, I guess we can say. That's a nice way of putting it. But this is a very well sculpted, well done head, right? And it has that look of that time period in the comics, right? That just that 90s, early mid 90s kind of drawing style that we saw. I'm going to bring the lights down just a little bit so it doesn't wash it out too much, and we can see some of the detail because this is really well done. Let's bring the focus in with it. So there we go. It definitely looks like you're looking at a comic book or a cartoon character face. But if you notice the detail, the eyebrows are painted very well on there. The eyes are painted very well. There's no issues that I can see standing out on that. You know, we've got the black up at the top just to kind of draw a highlight to the eyelashes that go on there. Tiny thin line at the bottom just to kind of help make them pop. And he's looking slightly up, which in a way kind of works because it's not like he's quite looking right at you. He's looking past you, if that makes sense, which to me kind of checks out for old Jean-Paul Valley. He's always been kind of elsewhere is the best way I can put it. And, you know, just a very simple look on his face. The hair is sculpted wonderfully. I appreciate the blonde with a little bit of a brownish wash. It looks like there's at least one shade of a lighter brown in there to kind of help bring some detail out of it and really give it that comic book look, right? Because when these are getting inked and colored, you know, this is kind of how it goes. There's a little bit of a flaw right there on that wave. You can see it, just a little dot. But otherwise, I don't really see anything standing out. Even the paint of the hairline looks very clean. And sometimes that is still an opportunity. Even with these Medicom, higher attention to detail, even more so than what we see in some of the mainline figures. Sometimes we'll see that paint kind of coming over into the face, but I do not see it here, even the slight little wrinkles in the face. So very well done, very well sculpted. But let's move on to the main event. The figure itself, right? The Azrael Batman armor. So one thing that I immediately notice, boom, we do have a wired cloth goods cape, so I am very excited about that. We can do some epic 90s poses with this guy. I mean, look at that. Look at how well it stands on its own, just very quickly. You saw very minimal movement and working with it, and it stands up very well on its own. It even wants to swing around and it will come kind of back to where we had it. And, you know, very, very minimal coaxing, and it just does what we want it to do. So that is a big thumbs up and a plus on that. But let's take a look at this mask, right? So just so good, so well done. I'm just happy to see how much of a likeness this is to the actual comic version, right? So the one that we've looked at before, it was very well done, but there are obviously always some artistic freedoms that are taken when these are released from the other maker. And that's fine because it was still a wonderful figure. But back to the subject at hand, the sculpting on this face, this cowl, this head, this mask is very well done. It's that simplicity, but with detail, because you've got a lot of the grimace to the face showing through, the red in the eyes. It just really brings through the way that character looked in the comics. Remembering that epic cover where it was presented and you first saw it on the shelf, you're like, oh my gosh, what have they done? What is this new Batman? Okay, but let's look at how it goes. So the neck is that silverish metal with the plates, you know, very Colossus style is the best way I can describe it. Looks like a Colossus neck. It is separate from the torso, so it does help with some of the wiggle, but the head also has its ability to wiggle a little bit. It's side to side for the head. If I keep it separate, not amazing, right? But if the neck comes into play, it does add a good bit to it, right? So it's helpful on that. Up and down, up definitely looks kind of, you know what? I can't even say that goes beyond straightforward, because if it does, it's ever so slightly. That's straightforward, and that's up. This back collar definitely impacts that ability to look up. But let's see about the down. The down's definitely going to work. I felt optimistic about that from that picture where we saw this collar blocking a lot of the face. So the down is very good, right? It does hide behind that, but it is a downward look still. But let's see, can it do it without too much force or effort and worry about paint rub off? It is, yes, and we are clearing the collar all the way around with this Exorcist rotation. Now, it does take some care to do it, but it will do it. Let me bring the lights back up, because now that we're a little bit darker in color, I don't want to lose any of the detail on this one. There we go, and I do keep blocking the light, which doesn't help. Okay, so there we go, and that kind of helps show some more of that metallic luster, and you can see the silver under there. Okay, so the shoulders. Wow, that's a big joint in there. Look at that. So and it helps that this shoulder massive thing is here to kind of help block some of the view of that, but they didn't necessarily rely on that, because you can still see the lines sculpted into this piece of the butterfly joint. That round, almost looks like an olive that goes in there to kind of help travel with the joint to block where that normally would be open. So very good on that. The arm does have the ability to do rotation at the shoulder, the rotator cuff. And we do have a bicep tricep rotation, and this one is across a flat piece, so it's not the musculature because this is an armor, right? So this would be most likely a big piece of metal, and the arm itself would come out underneath it. The only catch here is you can see the tricep does pop out underneath there, which breaks that line and kind of breaks the realism. So just be mindful of that when doing some posing with this. Now, we do have a pinless elbow, but before I even bent it, I was going to say I'm not optimistic about the flexibility because of this massive, I'm going to say it could be a bracer, but it's probably maybe a gauntlet because, you know, is it supposed to be all one piece? I'm going to say maybe, but either way, bracer, gauntlet, whatever you want to call it, it does impact the flexibility, but still very nice to see the double pinless elbow in there, and it does have very smooth movement on it. Now, I don't have forearm or elbow rotation. It almost feels like it is, but that's just the joint, a little looseness in the way that it goes, just by design. It's not that it's damaged or any issue with it. By design, that joint is going to have a little bit of a play to it. It's not loose, it has a play. Now, the wrist does have full rotation, and it does the wiggle just because of the way it is designed and the way that joint is, right? So with that double pinned joint in there, whatever it's called. But let's just take a closer look at this thing real quick while we're on it, because we're going to come back to it, the bracer slash gauntlet. So the detail on it, right, it's this lighter blue, which is painted all the way into where the arm comes through. On that, well, actually it's a silver. It just looked like it was a lighter blue because the blue casting on it. So it's that silver, or is it? Yeah, I think it might be that lighter bluish silver because it certainly looks like it. You tell me what your eyes are seeing. My eyes are seeing a match to this, but I could be absolutely wrong. And even looking at it against that, it still looks a little bit blue. Anyway, painted very well. The red on the inside also painted very well. It stops at the metallic piece there, and it stops almost perfectly to give an even, see, there's an even line of the blue of this going through, and then these are very well done. Now be careful with these because these are hard plastic. They are also very pointy, appropriately so. So I am glad that they did that, but be careful in getting them caught on something because it feels like you could damage these points, and that would harm just the way that it looks, right? The appearance of it, or it could break, and we don't want that. And then that little yellow coming through right there, just what we would expect as usual. And then underneath, we've got those details. Bravo on that one. I do not find any issues on this one. Even looking at it up close, it's hard to say that there's any problem with it. The other arm, same thing. Oh, that old hand just came right off, didn't it? There's always something when I pull something out of a Mafex pack that's ready to come off. Last time it was a head. This time it's a hand. You know, he's just ready to give us a hand. He's here to help, right? And same thing, right? Same flexibility, same capability, same wiggle in here. We do have a little bit of a hindrance with this piece sticking out, which we saw on the other one as well. Not much we can do about that, but it does have a good wiggle, and you can just kind of move it around to accommodate for it. So inward or the supination, it does work, but when you try and pronate or extend it out, not so great. And then it looks like just the painting on this is equally as well done. The way that I can easily judge it is by looking at that red and how it stops at the metallic blue and stops and gives that almost perfect line of the darker blue here. And then the points are very clean on it. One thing I'll say is this one kind of curves in a little bit too far. So I wonder if I can very gently heat it up and kind of get it to bend out. See, it's a little bit closer. Not enough to really be a problem. It still looks great. But then, of course, our mid-torso or below the rib cage, excellent flexibility, and it's got solid rotation there. If you lean it back too far, you do get a gap right there. And it did stop the sculpting up there, which is unfortunate. I would have preferred to have seen something kind of travel up, even if it was unrealistic as far as musculature, like where the abdomen or even over here, the side of the abdomen would not naturally travel up very far. But, you know, it's something that would kind of help make it not look so blank when it went up there. Okay, but the back lean is fantastic, and then forward as well, not bad. And this point does not impact it, but you can see, look at that red underneath, just so well done. And then of course we have waist rotation, which this mid wants to take over and rotate more. And then we have this little belt right here, which does kind of want to bend around. It's attached here on the back, right? So it stays on the figure with that one little bit of attachment right there, but it certainly wants to move around as we move the figure around, which is good because it does have some give, but it can cause it to push out or up or around a little bit. So when you're posing, you can kind of shift it and you might have to maybe squeeze it or reposition it, something like that. But excellent flexibility in this figure already, and we are almost bat splittable, but I mean, he's not the real Batman. I'm sorry. So he can't do the real bat split. But the flexibility is good. The forward kick flexibility, not too shabby. It certainly kicks up very well. And then backwards, you know, not terrible. Naturally, a human cannot kick backwards, swing that leg, at least hold it backwards very far. And if it did go too far, we would create a gap right there, and we're not doing that. So it still looks pretty clean. No upper thigh rotation, even though one could be masked here. There's not a line here, so, you know, just forget it. I guess is what they said. Double pinless knee, which creates excellent flexibility. Happy to see that. And of course, we do not have a calf rotation because we don't have a boot to work with. But we do have that good old foot. The up and down is excellent on that. So let's see. There's our forward. There's our backward. And then we do have the ability for ankle breaker, but you have to kind of rotate. You have to rotate this pin, not let the foot travel with it, and then you can bend it over because it's all dealing with this kind of double pinned joint right there. And going this way is a little bit difficult because there is an ankle here sculpted in, right? You can see, and that would obviously hinder its ability to go that way, so you can certainly do a breaker this way. And then we have good old toe articulation for some excellent posing capability. The other leg has the same functionality. So let's take a closer look at some of the paint that we haven't already looked at. Very metallic, right? This is a yellow metallic, and they've got a little bit of a darker, like an orange-ish yellow in here. Come on, focus, work with me. All right, we got a little bit of a, yeah, like an orangish yellow down in there. Let me bring the lights down some now because we want to kind of get some of the detail. There we go. So that's kind of showing, and it is very well done. It's fairly even. There's some spots where you can see it kind of got a little splotchy, especially around the back. There's a few spots right there. It's almost like that was the start and finish, maybe, of when it was done. It kind of reminds me of a bee hive right here. I had to say it, right? I mean, you can't unsee it after you've said it, but there it is. There's the beehive on the back. And, you know, there's one thing to throw out there. Be careful with the cape catching on these points because these are also very sharp and very stiff, and it could easily pick your cape. I got lucky that it did not, but I kind of thought that it had. It certainly had a good grip on it. Up underneath, the red painted very well, so happy to see that on the this shoulder thing, and the gold yellow in the middle is very well done. You can even see the yellow with the see the little darker, the orangish yellow in there. They even got the detail down in there for that. So I appreciate that little bit extra. Now these pouches here, they are a rubber plastic that is cast. There's nothing extra done on them for detail. But these do have that little bit of extra yellowish orange on there. So nice. You know, all in all, the paint detail on this is very well done. I am thrilled to have this one added to my collection. Let's see how he stands up on his own. And will he do it? Will John Paul Valley do what is asked of him for once? I don't know. Here we go. Come on. There we go. All right, he's kind of leaning forward a little bit, but he did stand up on his own without a whole lot of coaxing. So there we have it. We'll be right back with a good 360 view of this. All right, here we have it. There is the Medicom Mafex 6-inch Azrael Knightfall Batman. And there is our McFarlane Toys one that we recently did from the DC Multiverse line. Just to show them side by side, especially since I referenced that one a couple times. You can see there are a lot of differences between the two, right? So it is the same character, but there were some artistic liberties taken with the McFarlane Toys version. Still very well executed. One thing that was pointed out in the comments was the claws were not painted, and it does add a little something to have that metallicness to it. But it is a larger figure, definitely a lot more imposing, and I do appreciate that. I think it is well executed. I like the lower, the abdomen piece that hangs down to kind of block any kind of line or gap, but I think both are excellent in their own right. Obviously, the McFarlane Toy is a little bit lower on the cost scale, which is something I always appreciate, but the Mafex one I do believe was definitely worth it. The detail on it is extraordinary, as we can expect. But there you have it. There are the two compared side by side, looking fantastic, both in their own right. I hope you've enjoyed this. I think it's an excellent ad. Thank you. Hey everyone, we are currently running our SERPENTOR Arrive giveaway where we are giving away one Hasbro G.I. Joe classified SERPENTOR with Air Chariot. All you have to do is comment on this video to be entered to win. Each video during the giveaway period will have a secret keyword shared within the video, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. Because the first person to comment that keyword gets pinned to the top of the comments and gets 2 entries for that video. A special thank you goes out to all of you for making it possible for us to be able to already start giving back. Well, that'll about do it. Thank you for checking us out and for joining us on this collecting journey as always. And remember, we are posting new videos almost daily as new ads and releases come. If we ever do a review of something you are trying to find for yourself, please follow us and DM us on Instagram at JKCollectsToys so we can help with the search if we do not already have a way to get one. Also, if you got anything out of today's episodes and you haven't already done so, please be sure to subscribe and click that like button so you can stay up to date on any new ones. If you'd like to see some more videos now, there are a couple of quick links on your screen for you to check out. But no matter what, as always, thank you for taking the time. And remember, we are all in this world of collecting together. Let's look out for each other. Thanks.